What is poppin' people, my name is Shade, and I had a pretty good time making that last Skyrim video, so I decided to continue the series with this part 2. If you do notice any difference in the footage, it's because I recently installed a font mod, but other than that, I don't really have any other things to note, and long intros are annoying, so let's dive straight into it. I entered the barrow and came across two bandits in the first room. There was conflict, and I got my head turned into Swiss cheese by a steel ouch stick. After a bit more fighting, I was able to rid the world of the first bandit. I then leveled up again and increased my stamina, as well as put a point in the Bonebreaker perk. I then eliminated the second bandit with a pizza tray. And I unlocked some pretty decent gear from a chest, including a paralysis scroll, before progressing further into the barrow. I then watched some guy die to Ant-Man, move some stones in order to solve Baby's first puzzle, and got some knowledge from a random book. I grabbed some other loot, including a soul gem, and was attacked by rats of unusual size. I found a paralysis potion, as well as a scroll of fireball. And my first big challenge revealed itself, in the form of a massive spider. I tried several methods of attack, straight on, berserker rage, and finally I decided to just take my time and pick away at its health slowly, which took a long time. But finally, the beast lies slain. Using Berserker Rage and a couple of emergency health potions, I managed to kill the giant arachnid. I then cut Arvel down, and decided to also relieve him of the burden of life. I took the claw and found myself in a room with some Draugr, which were shockingly tough and actually managed to kill me. On my second attempt, I used the sentient door to my advantage and tried to avoid actual conflict. Once the Draugr were all dead, I took their items to sell in Whiterun, and made the mistake of awakening a restless Draugr. He was very resistant to dying, and even had frostbite, which almost killed me on multiple occasions. But he, like his lesser brethren, eventually succumbed to the attack wall. I then leveled up for a second time this video, and increased my health and upped my one-handed weapon damage to 40%. As I fought my way through even more undead, I realized that the mace does not have many special kill animations. I picked up a better bow. Some old man used my head as a baseball, so I did him one better and used him as a gong. I then failed to be dude perfect with a bow trick shot, and I began to amass a collection of bodies by the swinging axe haul. After that, I got chopped to pieces by the blender room, and my corpse did a sick cha-cha slide. I continued to add to my pile of twice dead bodies before I headed deeper underground. I came across a rather tough cookie, so I decided to play with my food and did so in the form of Ring Around the Rosie. But this time, the fun surprise at the end of the song was death. Honestly, I'd rate it as an 8 out of 10 game. Wouldn't recommend playing with children though. Moving on from that, I proceeded to convince a couple other guys that the Blender Hall was a nice place to be. But only after getting juked out hard by Bethesda's pathfinding. I solved the world's hardest puzzle, and I'll give you a hint. The key is the key. I then jumped over the door because I'm impatient and couldn't wait for 4 seconds. I found a pretty tiara, disrespected my elders by using them as a bouncy castle, learned how to verbally abuse chickens from a sentient wall, and my second big challenge came into play, Skyrim's pathfinding. It took 10 minutes to get this overlord to follow me through the various different chambers and into the swinging axe hall. I was then reminded that this was a Bethesda game when the Overlord went through a wall and descended into the Shadow Realm. One save reload later, and the Overlord was finally dead. And the Wizard's tablet was now mine. I left the barrow and headed back to Whiterun to report my findings to Farengar.
You see? The terminology. The Dragonstone of Bleak Falls Barrow.
Irileth then rudely interrupted our conversation to announce that a rather big lizard had arrived to kill us all. So I had another nice chat with the Jarl and made my way on over to the Western Watchtower. Within a few minutes, the big boy made his entrance, and I feel the need to mention that this would not normally be a very difficult fight. You have a lot of health, and its stats are close to that of a basic dragon. I also feel the need to mention that this took about 30 minutes, mostly consisting of me dying. I leveled up in a time of desperation, and put a perk into heavy armor and stamina. I got torched like a creme brulee. And then again. And finally, after a couple more torchings, I grew a brain and decided to play the long game up in the tower. I had a bow and there was plenty of cover up there, so I took my time and still managed to almost die on several occasions. After multiple minutes of raining down arrows from above and letting the guards take the heat, I ran out of arrows at the worst possible time. I tried doing a cool trick, but Mjolnir didn't appreciate that and turned my body into a sparkler. So I made my way down the tower and then watched as someone else entirely killed the dragon. It may be anticlimactic, sure, but the NPCs will still give me all the credit for it, so I'll take it. I absorbed the life force from the dragon and was told by some random guard that I was special.
I can't believe it. You're Dragonborn.
I shouted a naughty word, got yelled at by the Old Man Society,
We're causing all we ask is to look.
I don't care what you're doing. After what happened, you're...
talked to some outsiders,
We're looking for someone in Whiterun. We will pay good money for information.
and sold some stuff to a happy man. On my way out, I saw the droid the men were looking for, and she told me to come chat in her attic. Once I got there, she pulled a knife on me, so I told her to chill, and in return she told me to kill people.
You can't tell them. Please, I need your help, and there isn't anyone I can trust here in the city.
I then yoinked a bag and went on my merry way to once again speak with the Jarl.
So what happened at the watchtower? Was the dragon there? You'd better get up to High Hrothgar immediately.
We had a nice conversation about screaming men in bathrobes, and then he gave me the all-powerful axe of Whiterun, which was actually decent for once. But I don't use two-handed weapons, so instead of using it, I gave it some proper respect. I had some alone time with Farengar's crystal and coin bag, then met Lydia. I decided to accept her as a follower because combat is a huge problem for me, especially in these earlier stages, and I was gonna need all the help I could get. I then returned the golden claw to Lucan.
You find the claw. You found it.
Only to steal it right back, along with a couple of healing potions, in addition to as many cheese wheels as were humanly possible. Oh, and potatoes. I then did an Uno reverse card by selling him his own stock, and I fast traveled to Helgen because I wanted to avoid the bandits at Nilheim Tower and the necromancer at the Ritual Stone. Unfortunately, I was greeted by some angry men when I got there, and so I had to enlist the help of a nearby bandit plunderer to help Lydia and I deal with the thugs. It was also here that I realized that Lydia did not scale with the game's difficulty level, and thus did very little damage to even the most basic of foes. After the angry men were tucked in for nap time, I checked their bodies and found out that the ghost of the old woman with the secret basement had sent them after me. Not for killing her, but for stealing her flowers. I gave all of the heavy things to Lydia and continued on my way to Iverstead. I found a horse that I wanted, so I did the normal thing of killing its owner so that it would be mine. I later came across a drug dealer and dealt with him accordingly because drugs are bad. After that act of heroism, I stumbled upon the Rift Imperial camp, where I decided to sell all the loot from earlier to the quartermaster. I also found a sweet orcish mace, which I grabbed for only about 300 gold. I then sold a few more things before stealing a shield that was calling to me. And I stole one of their horses to really get them all hot and bothered. One of them even told me I wouldn't get away with it, but spoiler alert, I did. I pushed some guy out of my way in a physics-defying way, offered to be the mailman, and began my ascent up the 7 steps to High Hrothgar. I deleted a dog, ran with some goats, found yet another dog, but this one was white. While I dealt with the normal wolf quite easily, the ice wolf was a lot tougher, managing to fell me on my first attempt. After leveling up and discovering the power of 60% increase in one-handed damage, I got past the frozen puppy. I then came across another large obstacle, a frost troll. After being reminded that this is in fact a Bethesda game, once again, I made sure my arrows did nothing, and I took the manly approach of paralyzing the troll and running away. After another couple of minutes of running and wondering if Lydia could kill the troll, I reached my goal, the Old Man Pillow Fort. I delivered the food sack like any good mailman would, and as I ran up the stairs to the Bathrobe Society, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if all of my videos ended with me opening a door? The answer is, of course, yes.